Welcome to Monster Monday. So tonight I'm going to knock out a double feature. I watched these a few days ago and I was going to review them, but I just didn't get around to it. And they're monster movies. It's perfect. So I didn't take super extensive notes, so I'm just going to kind of go off of memory here. But thank you to Stephen Arthur for buying these for me a while back. He sent it to me with a bunch of other films, and it's films I've been curious of, not something I've been dying to get to by any means. But I threw on the first one, and I enjoyed it enough that I wanted to see the second. The second had the same writer, and it had, some of the same actors reprising their roles, and the first one leaves off on like a cliffhanger. So I immediately was like, all right, I'm going to watch the second one right back at back, because I liked the first one enough. And the second one, it just didn't live up to the first one. I thought that the first one was a total fun time, and the second one had potential from what was set up in the first one. I thought it was really going to play around with some of the stuff established there, and I just don't feel like it really ever came to fruition, which is kind of a shame, because I did rather enjoy the first one a good deal. So kind of a bummer, but all right. So the first one, I really liked the characters first and foremost. I think one of the things that really got my attention with a film like this, outside of I guess it's not just outside of, but obviously there's a bunch of hot chicks who are seducing people. And it always makes me, think of how pathetic men are. I'm including myself here. I'm not putting myself up on some pedestal. I might be the most pathetic of them all in a lot of ways when it comes to this. This is like my demise. I feel like I can protect myself from so many horror things that I've seen, but a pretty girl taking me and seducing me into her bedroom, species style, and essentially fucking me to death, which I think for a lot of guys that sounds like the ideal way to go, but I'd prefer to live a lot longer than, my college years, early 20s, so that's not the ideal way to go. But I always just think about that when I watch movies like this, where they get killed because they're seduced by a hot woman. Fuck. How do you defend against something like that? Men are brain dead. I'm actually kind of surprised that there isn't more movies like this, that there isn't more movies that play. And I'm not saying they don't exist. They fucking very much do exist. I'm just surprised we don't see more like slashers or something where it's just kind of men getting played for the cavemen that they are, the mentality of just like you can so easily take advantage of them. I mean, women have such a strong power over us in that way. So I don't know. It always makes me kind of feel pathetic when I watch movies like this. Like, oh God, I would totally fall for this. I would totally be one of the bodies at the end of the film, because I just couldn't keep it in my pants because some hot 20-something-year-old girl came up to me and was like, let's fuck. I mean, how do you say no to that? I mean, unless, you're into a relationship or something. But yeah, this seriously. I mean, this isn't really a knock, honestly. It's something that's not great about the movie, but I don't know. It didn't really bother me all that much. Obviously, I would have preferred otherwise, but the dodgy CGI, I mean, we've talked about CGI on here enough and how much I dislike it in lower budget horror. It just doesn't have a place in this. Yes, I would have preferred, practical tentacles and whatever the hell coming out of these girls, but I don't know. It doesn't, for the film that it is, it doesn't really downgrade the film all that much for me. Yes, it doesn't look good, but it didn't bother me all that much. And man, the chicks in this, a lot of them were freaking hot. I was glad they had that. That being said, and I will say this about this one and the next one. One place where this film kind of fails for me, and this might just sound like, some male thing to say here, but a film like this, there's an excuse for it. People would consider tons and tons of nudity gratuitous, but in a film like this, where these aliens have come down to this planet, yes, in case anyone hasn't seen this movie and they're just listening to this, this is about aliens who come to our planet, take the form of hot college girls to breed with men so that they can further their race, because their race is dying out and they're trying to find the right man to mate with. But yeah, there's very little boobage, very little nudity. For so many hot chicks, you see some, and they're great, don't get me wrong. Same thing with the next movie. There's some, and they're great. But this kind of film, man, it should be packing it on. I don't know, maybe they wanted to take themselves seriously. It's a goofy movie. It's a horror comedy. It's almost more comedy horror than it is horror. And I thought a lot of the humor actually was working for me. And I don't know. I guess that's just, yeah, that is the male side of me that just wants to see more boobs. But it just felt warranted here. So I really wish I could have got more. This one and the next one. And I mean, but we do get a good amount of like lesbo make, not a good amount, but we get some lesbo makeout scenes, and they're pretty hot there. And the creatures, once they turn into their alien cells and they morph back in, they look like the demons from Demon Knight that Billy Zane, the collector, resurrects or erects or whatever the hell you want to call that. I'm talking about tits, and now I'm talking about things being erect. Another thing that I found very odd, and this makes no fucking sense at all. So these things have the ability to transform into whatever they want. So, we see a hot chick. We know that that's what men want to breed with. That's what men are going to stick their dicks in, the most, whatever. Yeah, totally. It makes sense. They're right. But the way that they can tell that they're not human is when they pull up their shirts, they don't have belly buttons. Why don't they have belly buttons? Like, I get, like, that they weren't born human, so they don't have belly buttons, but they're just emulating what they see. Like, yeah, okay, they didn't have umbilical cords. I get it. I've seen that, like, Kyle XY poster. I've never seen that show, but I saw him. He says, like, he's pulling up his shirt and he has no belly button. I'm like, oh, look, he doesn't have an umbilical cord, so he wasn't human. I get it. But you didn't have anything of that body. So why would that be the thing you didn't form? Maybe the hole right in the center of their chest below their tits, that a black hole that's in the middle of their chest is a better indication than the fact that they're missing a belly button. They should be able to form a belly button when they can shape-shift into whatever they want. That makes no sense. There's nobody that's going to tell me fucking anything. I don't care if it's explained in the movie. Some fucking rocket scientist could sit down and try to explain it to me in the most complicated of ways, or somebody could explain it to me in the most simplest of ways. No. If you can shapeshift, you can make a fucking belly button on the body so that people aren't like, hey, I don't think you're human, especially once they know that they know. Stupid. I'm so dumb. What were they thinking? And so, yeah, they go, and actually felt really bad for one of these girls, because one of the aliens really does have feelings for this dude, and she wants to make a baby with him. She actually falls in love with this guy. He waits, because we have the virgin in this, and he's like, I'm a virgin, and I want to wait, and I want to make it special. I'm not saying guys like that don't exist, but guys who want to make their first time special to that degree, when a ridiculously hot, and I'm talking ridiculously hot girl is coming on to them, and they're talking shit with their friends, I want to fuck every girl on campus. I know there's some guys that just talk tough, and they really just want a relationship, and that's totally fine. But the fact that, like, he stops it, and is like, I want to wait, it's got to be romantic, it's got to be special. Those kinds of guys usually want to wait for marriage, or they want to wait for, like, deep into a loving relationship. He gives it up to her like the next day. It's like 2 days later. It's very quickly thereafter. But they do form a bond. And she does seem to like me. She's pissed off at him, and she pushes him away in a sense of like, I'm not going to fucking ever see you again. And that's the way I took it. And then the next day, they're like hanging out again like nothing happened. It was a very awkward, weird transition sequence. And she fucked someone else that night. So clearly, I mean, she wasn't into him. She didn't want anything from him, just sex. And he won her over. So I actually thought that was a really cool moment. He pushes her away because he wants something real. That's not something you see in films a lot. It's mostly the women who do that. But this is a guy, and I know a lot of guys will roll their eyes at it, but he was genuine. She went out and fucked somebody because that's what they're there to do. It ends up killing the guy. Then she goes and she starts hanging out with him, and she realizes she has feelings. And when she goes to have sex with him, she's like, I don't want to kill you. I don't want to hurt you. And she explains, and she shows her true self to him. And he is okay with it. He actually, it's ridiculous, I feel. It's a little too quick. I feel like it should have been more progress into their relationship. Like, push it, like they've been dating for months and they're like lovey-dovey and crazy about each other. Then I could have bought the fact that he could look past the fact that she's an alien under there. But he does, and he, you know, who am I to say? You could fucking fall in love with someone in 5 minutes. Hey, Jack and Rose on Titanic, they were together for what, like a fucking hour? And I mean, I'm not going to argue that they're not in love. They might be in lust, but, you know, what's the fucking difference when you only live for like, you know, another 2 hours? And same thing, I guess, to be here. This guy dies pretty quickly thereafter. But that being said, it's like, I really felt for that moment. I did. I was sitting there like, wow. This is a sad moment because she comes up and she fucks him, and then he's okay, but then he kind of starts to cough, and his friend comes in. What the fuck did you do to him? And she's like, oh my god, like, is he okay? And she's like, no, I love him, and he doesn't listen to her, and he hurts her, and she runs away. She feels horrible, and then she sees him later at this like get together where he comes to exterminate all of them, and that's it. Like, he just fucking, he comes in and he just kills her. Like, as she's kind of trying to apologize, and you can tell she feels bad. It's a sad moment. I was like, damn, that actually hit me harder than I would think a stupid movie like this could. So, yeah, that was kind of a bummer moment. And then he goes and he attacks the other girl, and it's just like, these guys, I get it, like, they're killing people, but they're really just trying to prolong their species. That's really their aim in this. And I get why he does what he does. I mean, he killed my friend and this and that. And that goes on, and of course everyone ends up dying, and they set up this whole moment. Maybe I missed it, but I don't understand what his relationship was to the detective woman, the older woman. His friend's like, you guys, what? And I don't feel like they established that at all. Am I missing something? Did I miss a sequence or a moment, or like looked on a phone or whatever? I don't know. Like, she came to the door, and then his friend was like, whoa, what's going on here? And I was like, yeah, what is going on here? And they don't really address it. Did I miss it? I might have missed it. But one-time watch. That's what's always so weird about reviewing movies that are one-time watches. Is like, I'm not as savvy as I would like to be. I love watching, reviewing movies I've seen 50 times because I can say things with such certainty. But with films like this, watching them once, just kind of taking it at face value, not hearing every single word because you haven't heard the phrases every 100 times like other movies. So yeah, I don't understand that. And then the very end of this movie, they kind of set up this whole, well, we sent someone 2 years ago to kind of case the joint. And you're thinking, oh, maybe it's the detective. And then, of course, it ends up being his friend, the hot girl, who I can't believe he's never paid attention to before. But movies always do that. And then she's like fucking him to death at the end. And then you're like, okay, like, second movie, he's in it. Did he get pregnant? He lived through it. It's not really addressed. They just kind of say getting into the second movie now, unless I missed it yet again. This is something I maybe on a second view I would catch, but I don't understand. They say like he saw these things, and that he's crazy essentially, and he has to let it go, and this and that. And I thought that, like, he was going to have given birth and have some things going on with, like, how he was the first one to actually populate with them. No, unless as I said, unless I missed something there. I don't think I did. And even the detective comes back from the first movie, and she, from what I could tell, was like, yeah, he's crazy, even though she was in on it with him and killed some of them with him. I'm really confused about that. I almost feel like I need to watch it again because I was like super confused. I was like, are they actually addressing the last movie? Because they even showed clips of it and they were talking about the story and this and that, and I was like, okay, this is weird. This film has 2 Saw alumni here with Tobin Bell, Jigsaw himself, and even freaking Dina Meyer, which was cool. Carrie from Saw 1 through 3. So you got 2 Saw people here right around the time of Saw 1, 2, and 3. So this is a film they made together, which was really cool. And it's been like a couple of years, I want to say, like years have passed, and I don't know. It just, nothing came of that ending. Why bring back characters if you don't really make anything of it? I don't get it. The guys in this movie are shitheads. I couldn't find myself liking anybody in the movie, was my big issue. Guys putting a pool together of scoring points by bagging chicks and then rating what those chicks are in a point level, and only going out to try to win by like, oh, I had sex with a 3 and we did this and it's worth this many points, and getting a bunch of dudes involved and putting it up. That is disgusting, deplorable shit. Okay, I know I'm all about women and I talk about that shit, but that was way out there. That is the next level fucking disrespectful, awful, like, oh, boys will be boys bullshit. That's creepy fucking no. I turned me off so hard watching this movie. I was like, yeah, no, that's not cool. That's not even sort of cool. And yeah, the main guy kind of wants nothing to do with it. He's trying to take the moral high road. But all these guys are fucking wimps too. Like, they make this whole game and they get a bunch of dudes start playing it, but then one of the guys, and then we have the virgin thing again. Like, another guy in this movie pulls the whole virgin thing. And I'm like, again? We're going to do this again? Like, I could buy it once, but on a college campus with a bunch of horny teens that come up with this game to bag all these hot chicks, yeah, they're all talk. I get the, irony, but 2 movies in a row you have this stupid virgin thing? Nah. No, and it never goes anywhere. I don't care about this guy. Like, the other one actually went somewhere. This one, lame. So I didn't care for that guy, his character at all. I didn't care for the main kid character. Nothing. We had Frankie Cheeks from Final Destination 3 in this. He gets fucked to death. And let's see, what else can I remember from this freaking movie? I kind of turned my brain off after I saw their sick game they were playing. I was like, wow, am I supposed to care about these guys? These guys are assholes. I hope every one of them die. Now, the thing that they kind of alter and change in this movie is that the girls are able to look into a man's eyes and read his deepest fantasies and then change their appearance, but only their clothing, to match what they want inside, like their deepest, so that they have a higher rate of success fucking these men. All you have to do is look like the girls in this movie and every dude on that campus would fuck you. So altering yourself to be like that instant fantasy, the girls in this movie, this blonde chick that's like fucking making out with this guy in the car and everything, so hot. The fact that she never shows herself naked is very frustrating to me, but they can alter their clothes. They can alter the fucking clothing on their body. So that clothing isn't even real. That's part of their skin, right? But they can't give themselves a belly button. Come on now. They can look into a man's eyes and read into his deepest, darkest desires and pull it into forming clothing and a look on their body so that they'll mate with them. They're going to mate with you anyways. We've established this in the first movie. You don't need a higher rate of success than 100%. Stupid. It's just for no reason. I get it. They're trying to up the game. They're adding something new. There's nothing wrong with that. But speaking of tits, let's jump back into the positives here. We get to see Nora West Allen. I can't remember what the girl's name is in real life, but I'm a big fan of The Flash and the DCU on the CW there. And we get to see, I don't want to spoil anything for the fans that have not watched some of the newer seasons, but there's a character in that show who's just gorgeous. And she is a girl that he comes onto at the bar, and she is just like not having it, and she flashes him like, this is all you're gonna see. I might have paused that scene. I might be that guy. I'm all fucking high on my, soapbox here, being like, you guys in your game, that's sick. Here I'm pausing some girl. But hey, she willingly did that on film forever. Who am I? Who am I to deny, taking a longer peek than just a quick flash? Wow, she's amazing. And I don't know, it just keeps going on, and it just kept getting lamer and lamer for me, and I kept caring less and less, and I didn't even care about the character from the previous film and where he was heading. Like, I liked him in the first movie, and when it ended, I was like, cool, I can't wait to see what's going on here. Tobin Bell, I liked him in this. Dina Meyer, I liked her in this. I mean, they're the two characters, but I like them. I like them as actors. So their parts are fine. They're okay. Dina is pretty hot in this. But they're just fine. They're background characters. They're just kind of cannon fodder. They're there to, up the body count when need be. I just don't feel like they played around with anything interesting that they could have. They set up cool, interesting things in the first one, could have expanded upon it, and went down. It felt more like a sci-fi original than the first one, even though the first one had like CGI tentacles and stuff. The second one it felt cheesier, it felt cheaper, it felt rushed, and it's like 3 years later, so it wasn't like it got greenlit and then they had to write the script in a week. I don't know what the behind the scenes stuff was, but they kind of failed for me. I was kind of like, oh wow, I actually really enjoyed the first one, and then just like as soon as I pressed play, I was actually excited for the second one because I was like, where's this gonna go? And I saw it was the same guy. I was stoked, and what a shame. What a fucking shame. And yeah, the ending of this just isn't important. And then it's like, the end, maybe. And it's got an ellipses, dot, and lame. I do like some of the music in this one and the first one. It's kind of got like a punky edge to it. It's like more like 90s pop punks type stuff. But it's fun. Kind of reminds me of something like Biodome, which I was a big fan of in the 90s. God, I love that fucking movie. I've seen it so many times. But anyway, yeah, so thank you to Stephen Arthur for sending me this. I don't know if anybody's even seen these damn movies, so I'm sitting here talking about them like, oh my God, people are going to rip me apart because I didn't remember this, and everyone's going to be like, I never even fucking heard of these dumbass movies. But if you've seen them and you do have some insight on the things I'm talking about, what the fuck was going on with this main character guy in the first one and the second one? What happened with the girl, and why is the freaking cop not seeming to remember, and why didn't he get pregnant? How is he still alive? I don't fucking get it. I'd go back for a second view, but I just didn't care for it. And not just because of those things. It was all the characters. They were all fucking stupid. Not enough tits. Anyways, all right, guys.